I don't like what is going on. I know you don't like what is going on. I'm talking about the demonstrations that have metastasized now to almost every major campus, college campus, university campus in the country. And there has been an incredible failure on the part, in my opinion, on the part of media to cover this properly. There also has been a failure on the part of the different college and university administrations to deal with this sort of thing. I know they're not used to it. It's these places are supposed to be where learning occurs. You know, it's where you go to get your undergraduate or graduate degree. But when these situations arise, the hope is that the school administrators know how to handle it, know how to react, know how to defuse the situation. Well, obviously, that did not happen. The way the local police in these various cities where these universities are located, the way the local police has acted to these college students is just goddamn horrifying. I mean, it really is. I can use Emory University here in Atlanta as an example, although it's true all over the country, using their goddamn nightsticks and their pepper spray and their tear gas to subdue, handcuff, and arrest students. It's just an outrage to me. Now, I know an argument can be made that says, look, Malloy, these people were trying to destroy university property. They were trying to take over the building. They were breaking windows. And to that, I respond, look, this whole situation has been an open invitation for the MAGA bums and the people responding to Putin propaganda and this crazy shit that the Putin government fills social media with. I'm not absolving students from their demonstrations because I don't think they need to be absolved. Their purpose for being out, for carrying their signs, for chanting, for marching, for raising hell, verbal hell, that cause is righteous. It's an anti-war movement. It is not anti-Semitic. Now, the bums and thugs and punks who have moved into this demonstration at the direction of the Trump animals, they're the ones who are causing the violence and the damage, as evidenced by what the NYPD, after they had arrested bunches of people, they realized that so many of them were not even associated with the campus. They were not students. They're MAGA fascist bums, scum, people who are trying to make a situation that is designed to raise people's awareness to the social justice that is not occurring in Gaza, the killing that's occurring, the war that's occurring. And the punks and the bums move in and start with the property damage. And then you have this son of a bitch Trump. Yesterday, he lamented the possibility that Columbia University's pro-Palestinian protesters, and you know, when they say pro-Palestinian, okay, there's an element of that. Yes, but it's pro-peace. But I'll get back to that in a minute. He says that Trump doesn't think that the pro-Palestinian protesters should be treated more leniently than the rioters who stormed the Capitol on January 6, 2021. That makes the second time this week that this orange bum has invoked the ongoing campus protests to try to downplay the past examples of this neo-fascist violence that he organizes, inspires, and leads with his fucking mouth. But he was speaking in the hallway outside the Manhattan courtroom where his criminal trial is taking place. And he questioned whether student demonstrators who seized a campus building early Tuesday, and some of them vandalizing it in the process, would be treated the same way as his supporters who attacked the Capitol on January 6th to stop certification of the presidential election. Only this son of a bitch Trump could come up with that kind of a comparison. And I mean, it's just beyond belief. And Trump said this, quote, "I think I can give you the answer right now, and that's why people have lost faith in our court system," end quote, which is total bullshit. This has nothing to do with our court system. He means he's lost faith. He doesn't respect our court system. But to compare these anti-war demonstrations with the criminal activities that he led, inspired, nursemaid, all the way up to the events of January 6th, is just an obscenity. But that's Trump. A pro-Israel mob is the way it's being described at Common Dreams. This is a sentence, and I'm not saying I agree with this, but this is a sentence. A pro-Israel mob violently attacked a Gaza Solidarity encampment at the University of California, Los Angeles, overnight Tuesday, last night, hurling fireworks at the structure and beating demonstrators as campus security and city police just stood there. Whoa. Now, I can't see, I can't, I may be entirely wrong, but I cannot see a pro-Israel mob attacking Palestinian students and throwing fireworks at their camp, their tents. This doesn't make sense. And the LA Times higher education journalist, a woman named Teresa Watanabe, reported that members of the pro-Israel mob, that's still how it's being described, used explicitly genocidal language as they ripped down encampment barriers, yelling, "Second Nakba." It's a reference to the forced displacements of hundreds of thousands of Palestinian families from their homes back in 1948. And I cannot imagine. And again, I'll add the qualifier right now. I may be entirely wrong, but I cannot imagine pro-Israel students, Jewish students, doing this. To me, these are the ubiquitous outside agitators who are inspired to do this. They're told to do this. Anytime you see something that could be interpreted as a societal breakdown that will help Trump get reelected, just like Nixon got reelected, then go participate, bust heads, set shit on fire, smash windows, do anything you can. At one point, according to Common Dreams, a student stepped out from behind the encampment walls to confront the mob. Palestinian student. They're pro-Palestinian, anti-war. And the mob quickly swarmed him and brutally attacked him while he was on the ground trying to shield his face from the kicks and the punches. No, I cannot see Jewish students doing that. I can't, and I won't. Organizers of this encampment at UCLA is aimed at pressuring the university to divest from companies who make money off Israel's war on Gaza. And the organizer said in a statement that the attack on these peaceful anti-war demonstrators was, quote, nothing less than a horrifying, despicable act of terror, end quote. And the statement went on to condemn the university for doing nothing to keep students safe. Now, I'm not trying to defend college or university administrators, but they don't have the training, and they should have the training. They should have seen what was developing when the first anti-war, pro-Palestinian people demonstrations first started to develop. I mean, these administrators, I would imagine most of them are old enough to very vividly remember what happened in this country in 1968 and in 1970. And when I talked about, I think Monday, when I talked about the murders on Kent State, I left out, and I apologize for this, additional killings that occurred on Jackson State in Mississippi, a predominantly black university. I didn't mean to just focus on the white kids. The black kids were shot down also. And a couple other predominantly black universities that I don't have the names in front of me right now. But these college administrators, I've seen them on television, all of them seem to be in their 50s or 60s. If they weren't around 50 years ago for the horror that was occurring in this country, surely to God they've read about it. They've seen the videos. They know what can happen on college and university campuses when an issue like what is happening in Gaza starts to penetrate into the minds of the students. Adults just look at this shit and say, well, the government will handle it. Well, who started it? Well, whose fault is it? Well, for Christ's sake, why don't the Palestinians just chill? I mean, that's the kind of stuff that adults can come up with. I'm talking about people over 40, 50, 60, whatever. Not you. I'm not talking about you, gentle listener, and I'm damn sure not talking about myself. But the way things are in this country right now, as we're all poised right on the cusp of fascism, it's understandable why people who are not students just really don't give a shit. Just don't want to hear about it. Don't want to see it on the news. Don't want to read about it in their newspapers. Why did everybody sit down and shut the fuck up? Seems to be the attitude. Well. But the college students, these young people, who still have not had their brains gelled over by capitalist horseshit or by consumer horseshit, who are still struggling to try to make the point to the larger world that this shit has to stop. Whether it is the destruction of the environment, global warming, the pushing other groups of people, whether they're black or Jewish or Muslim or Palestinian or Ukrainian, whatever they are, pushing them into a second-class role. Black folk in this country understand this a hell of a lot to a more personal level than I do. I can understand it intellectually. People of color in this country who have been here know exactly what I'm trying to express here because they've lived it and they continue to live it. But the shit's got to stop, he said plaintively. The administrators at UCLA said that the encampment, the anti-war group that set up their camps, the Palestinian supporters, American kids, and some who were here as students from other countries, that encampment was unlawful. And the administration at UCLA said, get the fuck out of here, or we're going to suspend you, or we're going to expel you. I mean, what a dictatorial goddamn thing to say to people, to young people especially. Stop what you're doing. Screw all this. Break up your encampment. Get out of here. I'm not saying not all of them were not sympathetic to Israeli issues, to the murder of Palestinians in Gaza. But the majority of the people involved in these attacks on a peaceful encampment had to be people who were inspired, led, ordered, whatever you want to call it, by the Trump MAGA fascists in this country, just like what happened back in Nixon's time, trying desperately to make things so fucking horrible. So much unrest, so many riots, so much political agitation that the voters in this country, the voters would say, okay, I've had enough of this shit. I'm going to vote for the strong man. I'm going to vote for Nixon because Nixon will bring a stop to this. And so they voted for Nixon, reelected him. And 2 years into his administration, look what happened to that son of a bitch. Well, Trump is hitting the same chords, the same notes as Nixon did. And the demonstrations around the country are doing nothing but increasing the possibility that this orange son of a bitch is going to get reelected.
Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. The Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.